Good evening and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us this evening. Every week, I have the pleasure and privilege to have a meaningful conversation and break bread virtually with authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and C-suite professionals. And today is no exception. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the first equestrian to go to the Olympics, the author of this fantastic book, Riding Free, Imtiaz. Imtiaz, has been an absolute whirlwind tour the last month or so. I've been seeing you doing a lot of virtual events back to back. I think you were with Sonali Bendre to Tara Sharma to the national news. We hosted you at the Soho House with Arjun Kapoor. So it's been a relentless back to back book tour. My heartiest congratulations to you on the launch of your new book, and wishing you all the very best of success. And welcome to this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Gautam. I really appreciate being on this platform. And yeah, it has been a bit of a whirlwind, but that's what it takes. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. Met some interesting people, and it's been absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think whenever one launches a book, one needs to really put a lot of energy, passion, and make things happen to really create awareness of the books. And I guess considering we're in a sort of virtual space, it adds a little more of a challenge. But have you done some events, offline as well?
Yeah, I've done a few offline events, mainly like we did the Soho House one with Arjun Kapoor. I did some in Hyderabad, but they were with a select crowd of riding enthusiasts. I did one in Japloop in Pune. So they've been small, but it's fun. It's always nice to interact with people. I've done a couple of book signings, and so I've really enjoyed it.
That's been great. I think with this sort of hybrid model that we're sort of all experiencing, actually the reach is much wider and much quicker in that sense. When the past was predominantly physical tours.
Yeah.
So I think with the hybrid model, you sort of have the best of some intimate offline events. And then obviously you've got, the virtual space, which has, infinite possibilities. So that's great. Good. So one question I'd love to ask all my guests, and it's something that really I find a lot of sort of insights come from this question. Is I'd love to know, Imtiaz, what is your personal why? What's your purpose? What drives you to get out of bed every day and make a difference in this world?
Well, I think it's people. It's always driven by the people. The people that you're associated with. You want to help. In my life, as the book will also tell you, so many people came into my life to help me achieve my goal, and that's what really wakes me up. I run an equestrian school right now, and it's the students, the energy that they have drives me every morning. I want to improve. I want them to improve, and it's about improving yourself also. You learn so much from the younger generation as well. So give and take. And I think that's what makes everything so special. When you have a personal relationships, of course, in my sport, I'm lucky I have an animal as well. So, that also drives me a lot because I'm absolutely crazy about my horses. So that's what makes me up every morning to ride them, to work them, to improve them.
So what I heard is, people are a key part of this journey of why, and obviously passion is important, and obviously the pleasure of anyone who loves animals. So that's absolutely great. One of the things you shared is I'd love to know is like, what does it take to follow your passion? Because, having a passion of something like, horse riding, obviously there are many passions one has, but what does it take really to follow your passion?
I think the whole thing is about discipline. That's my basic thing. I think you got to be a disciplined person. In order to follow passion, people always have these great ideas and they want to follow a dream. But to follow it through, you still have to have the mundane discipline part, the determination. You have to go through the grunge as well, which people forget. You got to have that balance. Everybody likes to look at the end. Oh, look at this man, how successful he is. Look at the way he's living his life. But nobody's seen what he has gone through. And that's what these kids of the younger generation have to realize, that whatever it is and whatever they want to live, they still have to go through those highs, those lows, those failures, early mornings, late night, burning the candle from both ends. That's what it takes. But then eventually you can plateau on that perfect place, which is where you always dreamt of and what your real passion is. It doesn't just come because, oh, this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it. So to me, getting back to your question, I think the key thing is making it a part of your life. I was
Right.
very fortunate. I went to boarding school at a very young age. So that was instilled to us at a very young age. We got to get up at a
Right.
certain time. We were dressed correctly. We never were late. When something was at 6 o'clock, if you were there at 5 to 6, you were already late. So those sort of things were already instilled, even until today. I'm 50 years old, and I'm very rarely, I could say, I would be late for an event. It's just not me. It's something that it's always instilled in me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, I absolutely resonate with that. Having been born and brought up in the UK, I mean, timing is something, one of the disciplines we learn. And you talk of commitment, you talk of discipline, and above all, you then talk of consistency as well, because in whatever you're following your passion, for it to sort of gain momentum, you are going to have a lot of highs and lows, and you need to maintain that commitment,
Absolutely.
and sort of consistency despite whatever's going around, all the noise and the challenges that could be disruptive.
Yeah, yeah. And people. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, in your book, and I think yourself, I'd love to know the importance of perhaps a mentor in this role of following your passion. What's the role of a mentor, and how important it is to have a mentor?
I think that is the most important thing. I think when you look at this today in youngsters, we always have, when you're at school, you have your teachers. When you go to college, you have some professors. Your family is always there. But, in today's day and age, we don't have enough people. And I'm saying it a little bit because I know your audience is quite global. But in India, it's a real problem because we don't have enough mentors. Even if in a sporting world, where I come from, we have a lot of coaches. But there's a difference between a coach and a mentor. A coach is somebody who's on the field, tells you, your skills, how fast you can go somewhere, how slow, what, speed and tactics and things like that. But a mentor is just on the overall perspective of your thought process, where you need to go, where you need to place yourself, and things like that. So I think it's really, really important. And it's interesting that you mentioned this, Gautam, because I was very fortunate that at the age of 11, I found my mentor. And she was
Wow.
also my coach. So, and that was I was really fortunate. It was somebody I really looked up to. She was extremely competent, of course, as a horse person, but she was also extremely well-read, extremely well-traveled. So all these things really are the people that you look up to. So what I tell people today is important to find mentors. What is important also, that they shouldn't be of your immediate family, because there's always a little bit of bias. And the other thing, which I think, which has really worked for me, is to find mentors also who are not in your profession. They're just people you look up to. Their way of life, their demeanor, the way they dress, the way they present themselves. If you look up to those people, they can still be mentors, and they can still guide you in so many different ways, because they give you different perspective on things. So when you're on a crossroad, it's nice to ask 2-3 people as to what they feel, and then it's up to you to make the final decision. But it's nice to get that input.
Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed your response to that. And to me, we don't know what we don't know in life. And if we can have a mentor who's out of the familiar contact sphere, so firstly, not be a family or a close friend, because there could be a bias, but also they're very familiar. And at the same time, not necessarily someone from our industry or from our knowledge, someone out of the box, because then they can give you a completely different perspective. And as we know, we're sort of, whether it's your business or your profession or your passion, we're involved in that. And if we can have someone have a helicopter view, sort of out of the box, and sort of a different point of view, it helps us open our mind to a different experience, to possibilities that we weren't even aware of. So I really resonate with what you shared. That's fantastic. Great. No, in fact, the other thing when you said coaching as well, I mean, to me, I find one thing in the recent times is like have a coach in every area of my life. So I have someone, you say a financial coach, you can have a business coach, a health coach. So because all these are different parts that make us who we are. I mean, our health is of prime importance. When we are healthy, then we have the right energy and the right mindset to then perform at our best in the business space. You could have a life coach, and managing your money is also an important part of your life. How do you manage your money, and how do you give back? All of these things that we'd love to do, and just having someone sort of that you feel accountable to in these areas helps you become, I think, the best version of yourself. At least that's sort of my experience thus far. So that's great. So one of the things, obviously, we know the last 12 to 18 months has been, work from home for many of us, especially in India. But with that, one could go on down the road of anxiety, stress, concern. But what I'd love to learn from you is like, what opportunities and learning has work from home presented for you?
No, I think it's not also the opportunity, it's what you make of it. So I always tell people, whenever situations like this happen, you could be sitting on a chair and say, it's a pandemic and there's nothing happening and there's lockdown. It's all about attitude. You have to look at it, well, this is a situation, and now we have to figure out a way. We have to figure out a way, how do we make a positive out of this? I mean, for me, a perfect positive would be, I started writing my book. I reached out to people because I'm one of those people who like to do 20 things at one time. I would have never sat down and actually written a book, but the pandemic made me do it. So whenever you look at any of these situations like the pandemic, work from home situations, you spend again, it's about keeping that balance. And you hit on a point earlier, like how you said it, your work, you can have a business coach, you can have a finance coach, but you also mentioned a very thing about your health. When you fly on a plane, what do they tell you when there's a problem? Put your mask on first, then put it on your child. So that is the most important thing. You got to look after yourself, because unless you don't look after yourself, you can't look after others. So it's perfectly all right to take a day off. It is perfectly all right to go for a massage. It is perfectly all right to get a manicure, pedicure, whatever works for you, because you got to find out that, and you got to maintain that balance. And that's what is important for health. When you look at the pandemic, I always tell people, figure out ways of exercise, getting outdoors, going for a walk in your own garden, going up and down your own steps if you live in a high rise. There's so many things to do. So it's all about being creative.
Fantastic. And you mentioned another great point there, self-care. And, if there's one thing I've heard, self-care, self-love, but I really embraced it in this lockdown. I mean, I just realized we can only give others what we have inside ourselves.
Absolutely.
So first and foremost, I have been one of the biggest breakthroughs for me in the lockdown and this work from home is, the self-care routine, whether it's yoga, it's walks, it's meditation, it's journaling, it's reading. All of these things I've sort of embraced to say, let me start my day with these activities. Because then that's the foundation of a day. Because the day, what comes up, you're not sure. You can plan your day, but as we know, a lot of unplanned initiatives come up. But if you're in that right mental, physical, emotional state of mind, which comes from the self-care, it actually helps you, respond more positively.
I'm going to say this to your viewers as well. And everybody's is different. Like I have people who tell me, "Oh, you must garden." I hate gardening. Why would I garden? Like there's some people say, "Oh, the best therapy is cooking." I hate cooking. So it's not what you don't have to do what everybody else does, because cooking is a therapeutic, gardening is therapeutic. It may not be for you. Yoga, it's not for me. For me, it's playing a sport. Actually, for me, if I'm really stressed, I love to go and play 30 minutes of squash, hit that ball as hard as I can, work out a real good sweat, and all my stresses go. So everybody has their own thing. So you got to find that. And for parents, you got to find it for your children, because they don't know what it is. So it's not about, no, you got to keep working. You got to play sport. You got to do music. You got to do a foreign language. All these things that we put into their mind. All these things what society tells us. Oh my God, what a lovely child. He speaks a foreign language. He plays an instrument. Does he like to do it? Does he really want to do it? Is he passionate about it? Is it something that, helps him? So you got to find out what works for them and form a balance.
Yeah. No, that's a great distinction. And as you said, that self-care, self-love activities is different for each one of us. So find what makes you feel good. What do you enjoy? What raises your emotions, whatever that may be. And that becomes your own sort of self-love, self-care activity. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no one path. It's really finding each individual finding what brings them the happiness and fulfillment in their personal lives. So that's great. So one of the things in your book, and you talk about is, I love to learn is, dealing with setbacks and disappointments. How do you deal with setbacks and disappointments? Something that we have to experience in our lives. I mean, age no bar, a teenager to if someone our age or even our parents. I mean, we all are dealing with setbacks and disappointments. So how do you deal with these?
It's a part of life. In fact, my book, Gautam, people who think, there are more setbacks and failures than successes in the book, but that's what life is all about. And I think it's important for us to let our kids know that. When the first thing I have a talk with all these little kids at schools, I tell them, whatever you're going to do in life, let me tell you from now, the one thing for sure, you're going to fail. I don't know about the success that you may or may not happen, but for failure, I'll tell you for sure it's going to happen.
Guaranteed.
So getting over that failure. So don't think it as a bad thing. This is what, it's in our minds. And I hate to say it again because I know you have a global audience, but in India, we look at that as a bad thing. It's like, oh my God, everybody's scared of failure, and that's why they don't try. That's the main reason they don't get out of the comfort zone, because they're thinking what's going to happen or what people are going to say. That's another thing that people have. You got to let that go, because people are going to always say things. You cannot control other people. Same with failure. It's going to happen. So just deal with it. And the way I deal with it is by surrounding myself with positive people. That is one of the most important things. Once you surround yourself, like I'm in my book, one of my biggest failures was in 1994 when I was dropped from an Indian team. It was crushing, I mean, it was the last minute and I was already selected and everything like that. But it was the family, the friends, they could have also told me, like, listen, you've done your best, let it go, try something else. But they didn't. They're like, no, come on, keep going. We got to climb the ladder. That's what it's all about. Walls keep coming. It's about how we're going to climb it. You may climb it differently. I may climb it differently, but we still have to climb it, whatever happens.
Absolutely. It's absolutely inspiring what you shared. And as you said, I mean, to me, is accepting that you're going to deal with setbacks. That's a part and parcel of life. So, it is what it is. And, they say success is a journey, not a destination. Let's enjoy these as learning, because ultimately
in the sporting world, in your world, in the business world, it's not really, there's no gold medal, silver medal, but in ours it is 1, 2, 3. But that's not what the sport is about, because there's only 3 people that can win. What happens to the rest?
Participated.
The people that have touched, people that you've got there, and all of them who have competed or at that level have made the same sacrifices. They put the same effort. They put the same hard work. Now on that day, the best person wins. Great. But that doesn't mean we don't forget the others.
Right. I think I heard you mention that in one of the talks I was a part of, where you mentioned, all these people who went for the Olympics, and participated. I mean, it's fine acknowledging those ones who won and came back with the gold medal, but we should acknowledge each and every one whose hard work, sweat, and grit, they participated.
Because Gautam, when you look at our population, look at how many, we've got 1 billion people and only 125. That's not even the size of a classroom that, or even a small organization have went to the Olympic Games. All 125 should be put on a pedestal to me.
Correct.
They should be all put on a platform. They should all be raised. They should all be, we must be so proud of all of them. We don't even know their names, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's so true. So true. In fact, another point that it triggered from what you shared is one of my authors, Bob Urichuk, based in Canada. He always said, fear, he loved acronyms. He said, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. It's always in the mind, it's in the mind. And the other thing he said is that, when you don't ask, it's 100% no. The cultural thing of fear of rejection or fear of failure. But when you ask, you at least have a 50-50 chance. So
Absolutely.
At least make that step.
You can spread a book. I have no problem in asking.
Absolutely. Great. Coming to another interesting topic that I think is something very close to your heart as well is the importance of giving back. And I'd love to learn from you, from your experience and your thoughts, and how important is it to give back?
I think, to be honest, Gautam, I think it comes back to our previous question about mental health. I think it gives a lot of satisfaction when you actually give back. People must realize that once they start giving back, it doesn't become about them. It becomes about somebody else. And that has to be that one of the balances that have to be maintained. You got to look after yourself, your family, your business, your money, your mental health. But one of the other things is others. And that comes where the giving back comes at. I think it's really important. And India, actually, to be honest, does quite a good job with it. We do a lot in our own ways. With most people have, I say it because, again, it's what it is. But, a lot of people have staff. A lot of people have people who work at home. So we're giving back in small ways, whether it's, in ways of medical, in ways of health, in ways of raising money, in fundraisers, even in NGOs. It's a huge country. So it is a drop in the ocean. But I want people to know that please don't think that it is a drop in the ocean so you don't do it. But because every drop counts. So even if you can give back in a small way to what is important to you, it is really, really, this is the way all of us are going to grow. For me, it has always been about my students. I've got a lot of people. That's why I came back to India. One of the main reasons was to base myself here, was to help equestrian riders and try and get them to the international level. There are those who can pay, they must pay. Why not? You have to be financially viable. But there are those who can't pay, we got to support them in some way, And there are always ways to do it. So we got to think outside the box of how we can do that, whether it's your organization, whether it's your firm, whether it's your sporting team. There are lots of people out there who do not have the funds or do not have the opportunities that we're sitting on these people, and most people on the show have those opportunities. We're already privileged. Right. So it's really important that we actually help those who didn't have the opportunities that we had.
Fantastic. No, absolutely. I think that's something that we really need to live. It's one thing saying it, but we need to live it as a philosophy. We have so much to be grateful for.
Right.
And if that's one of the biggest learnings of this this pandemic, if I call it that, is the self-realization of things we sort of sometimes took for granted. It really put things in perspective that if, you have a roof over your head, food on the table, your family with you, you've got so much to be grateful for. So I think, giving back is something that needs to be a part of our way of sharing our appreciation for what we have and being able to give back. And it can be giving back from time to knowledge to contribution. There's so many ways to give back and make a difference in this world. I'd love to learn a little bit about your, the setup that you have a few hours here from Mumbai, and for the viewers, because that's something that I find very intriguing. And it's something that not only for families, but also I see for corporates, because they're always looking at some sort of activity-based experience, getting away from the hustle and bustle of the city. So could you share some insights into, what you've created?
Yeah, it's actually absolute heaven. So I'm really fortunate and blessed. We're about 3 hours from Mumbai. So it's a very easy car journey in the morning if you leave. And we're the only place on the beach. So we have 7 miles of beach, and it's just absolutely untouched. And we have a full equestrian facility out here with 16 horses. So we teach riding to national level riders, to competitive riders, but we also teach to families that just want to learn to ride, have never sat on a horse. It's great therapy. Kids, parents, and even like organizations, even schools are now wanting to send their kids out here for weekends, or we have a homestay that they can stay. And we do all sort of other activities where they learn to brush the horse, groom the horse, look after the horse. So it again becomes about that it's not me, there's somebody else. That's what I love about my sport than other sports, because any other sport, once it's over, you put the gear in a kit bag and you're done with it. While here, you still have to look after the horse. So it's wonderful. It's a great family activity because it's something that there's no age to it. Dad can do it, mom can do it, kids can do it. And if they don't really want to do it, they can still enjoy the beach. They can go for long walks. They can go for a run. We can play football. So it's a lovely place that we have. It's a small fishing village, and there's absolutely nothing out here. There are no shops, cafes, restaurants, nothing. So it's just absolute heaven. We have a little bit of Wi-Fi, and that's about it.
Fantastic. No, it's I'm very much so. I've added it to my bucket list. Being based in Mumbai, is to start stepping out and enjoying some of these experiences that the country presents. So I'll surely look forward to visiting you in that space very soon. You can
put the horse in, ride on the beach. You can take him for a swim in the water. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Wow. So you launched this book, Riding Free. Congratulations once again. What's next after Riding Free?
Well, I always say that, I've had so many mentors in my life. And I really would like my next chapter in my life to be in that position where I can be that mentor for many others. I think if I can help other people to achieve their goals, that would be my next chapter. And that's what I'm aiming to do, because so many people, and you look at the book, it starts from page 1 to page 10. It's about how people come into my life, and they come in at different stages, when I'm down, when I'm out, when I'm high, when I'm low, when I need to, and they just help. They make their goal my goal, so that's what I would love to do.
All right, that's really inspiring. And one thing I've really heard from the time I've spent with you in the recent weeks and in today's conversation is that, it's really about people showing up at the right time in your journey that made you, enjoy the success that you did have in the Olympics. And to me, I see yourself as wanting to be the person that you're there for the future generation, the other children, and being a part of their journey of success and sort of your way of giving back, if I can say that in the sense you had people in your life at the right critical stages. And if you can be that key person to these amazing children who are spending their valuable time with you in this early stage in their journey and be a part of their success, their passion, I think that'll help you achieve even more fulfillment in your journey ahead.
Thank you.
Great. So as you may know that, I wrote this book, Breaking Bread, in the lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And one of the stories I share is my why. And, that's a story I learned from my dad, where he said, you're going to come across challenges, because one thing that's, constant in life is change, and challenges are two things that are constant in life. And he said, surround yourself with the right people, something you also share, who uplift you, encourage you, inspire you. Continuously learn. You learn from people, you learn from books, you learn from podcasts, and then above all, take action. But I'd love to know from you, when someone says to you, breaking bread, what does breaking bread mean to Imtiaz?
Well, coming from your book, it's very similar actually to mine. It's about investing in people. I think this is where we used to be. That's what India was, founded on that. And now we've gone away. We've gone more to the West, and the West has gone towards the East. People have realized that, in the West, it used to be nobody had time for anybody. Nobody had patience. Everybody was just running, and, they knew where they had to go, and that was it. If they trampled people on the way, so be it. India was never like that. In India, when people came over, we have a saying, it was like, and Australia is a bit like that. When you go to somebody's house, they call it a cuppa. They actually make you a proper cup of tea, and you actually have tea and you can have a conversation. In America, it's a fast-paced place. There's no place to have a cup of tea. There's a tea bag. That's what the joke was. They have a tea bag because they want it fast, quick. Let's do business and move on. So to me, that's what Breaking Bad is all about. It's about people, and that's what life should be about. Because, as you said, who knows whether we're going to reach the end journey or not. I was fortunate enough to reach it. You're fortunate enough to be where you are. But not everybody is. But at least you've met so many people on the way. They've touched your lives. They've had an impact. You may have touched other people's lives and had an impact on their lives, I'll give you a story that was really mattered to me, I was in an interview one day and somebody asked me, it was an Equestrian team. There was an Australian team and they were looking for a coach for the young rider team. And they said, what is the highest one of your riders have achieved to show, whether how good a trainer I am? I said, well, I don't really look at it that way. I said, to me, what's really special is that I was a member, I coached a team of young riders. But when that girl got married, she had a small wedding of only 20 people and I was one of them. So to me, I made a difference in her life to be in that 20. So that's where I feel is the impact. And they were also surprised. I took it away from what, competition is, because that's how good your horse is, how much training you've got. Who knows who wins or who loses. But these are the things that are more important, where you've actually made an impact in that girl's life while training with you.
Absolutely. What a wonderful story. What a wonderful story. So Imtiaz, it's coming to the close of our valuable time together. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to have this meaningful conversation and break bread virtually. Any closing comments that you'd like to share with the viewers?
Well, I just want to tell everybody that, if Riding Free is not only a book about horses, or it's my story, and there's a lot of horse talk in it, a lot of horses come in, but it's really about following your passion and getting out of your comfort zone. It's about asking people for help when you need it. It's about getting mentors. So it really helps people to see that if there's a dream, it's possible. So that's what I wanted to really spread. I wish everybody all the best. Live life to the fullest. We only have one life, so make the most of it. That's what I tell people. And thank you again for having me on this platform. I really, really enjoyed it. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Imtiaz. It's been an absolute pleasure. I recommend everyone gets their copy of Riding Free. It's available at all the leading bookstores and on Amazon online. So get your copy and be inspired by this fine gentleman who's got a wonderful story to share with each one of you. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege, Imtiaz. Thank you so much.
No, thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.